This is Ram Showcase
on Sports War Radio
with your host, Sheriff Joe Bags.
What is going on, Rams fans, and welcome back to another edition of Ram Showcase right here on Sports War Radio. My name is Joe Brandon, but you can and should call me Sheriff Joe Bags. Today's episode is brought to you by Audible, and with over 480,000 titles to choose from, you can get a free download right now and a free month. All you need to do is go to www.audibletrial.com/Rams Showcase. Pretty simple stuff there. We have a decent amount of stuff to talk about. Of course, we're going to talk about this Texans-Rams game. Not too detailed, simply because most of you guys already know what happened in that game, but I will give you my stock up, stock down. We'll talk about the Rams and the Saints game. That will be happening on the 30th of August. And then, of course, we got some pretty solid news to get into. And then on the other half, the fan quesos that you are not going to want to miss. First of all, let's talk about this Texans-Rams game. First of all, as far as preseason goes, pretty exciting game, actually. It wasn't too terrible to watch. Came down to the very end. If you did miss it, so did Nick Rose of the Texans to end the game. That would have given the Texans the win, but the Rams take away the 1-point victory after that missed field goal. Overall, like I said, pretty exciting game to watch as far as preseason goes. The Rams defensive starters, besides Mark Barron, did play in this game, and that was really cool to see. My favorite part about that, and this is really the only analytical part that I'll get into, is in zone coverage, their communication on the back end with Marcus Peters and LaMarcus Joyner and Aqib Talib with John Johnson. Those guys were communicating so well, passing out receivers into different coverages. It was really good to see. And for the first time on the field together, and this was the first drive of them all being on the field together in live action, it was really cool to see that was a big part of them playing together. So very excited to see what this defense does. And of course, we got a tough test in week 1, Derek Carr and the Raiders. It's going to be a good game. We are facing some pretty solid offenses this year, so it's going to be fun to watch for sure. So this game, though, talking about stock up, some guys who stocks up, we're going to talk about some stock downs as well. But first, running back John Kelly, his stock keeps on rising. Every single week, I'm pretty sure he's been on my stock up list. I had 15 carries for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day. Really cool stuff for John Kelly. And it's not just the fact that he's getting the touches or the yards or the touchdowns, anything like that. It's how he's doing it. I don't know if you guys watched the game, that second half drive to open the second half. First of all, felt like it took forever, which was awesome. The Rams just kept being on the field. 3rd and goal from the 15-yard line. You just give it to John Kelly right up the gut in an attempt to likely just set up an easier field goal. And John Kelly said he didn't care about the field goal. He wanted some touchdowns and just kind of pinballed his way through. It was really exciting stuff. Really cool to see. John Kelly had his mouth guard on his helmet the entire time, which was kind of funny. And they mentioned it after the game. Somebody, I think it was J.B. Long, actually mentioned, it was like he didn't know he had it there or whatever, but you could see him during the drive. He was touching his helmet, touching his mouthpiece, so he knew it wasn't in. That's just how awesome John Kelly is. But next time, John Kelly, you got to protect that mouth, man. Protect the mouth. Next up on my stock up list, quarterback Brandon Allen. He has been on this list, I think, twice now. Went 10 of 13, 63 yards, 2 rushes for 14 yards as well. And he was the quarterback during that very long drive right out of halftime. And that was really good to see. A lot of third down conversions on that, which is perfect. So to be able to keep your defense on the sideline and then end that drive with a touchdown, which almost didn't happen. Rams almost had that long of a drive that didn't end in a touchdown. So cool to see Kelly break that one in. But Brandon Allen, again, he's not really doing anything too flashy, but what he's doing is just his job, and really that's all we need him to do. Linebacker Micah Kiser had 5 tackles in this game, which is cool, but what I'm looking at is his pass coverage. He's doing an awesome job in pass coverage, which was his weak point coming into this season. So it's very cool to see Micah Kiser performing in that aspect and doing well against the pass. He did have a big pass breakup near the end of the game. Right guard slash center Austin Blythe, who has been noted as the guy who's most likely, via Sean McVay, to cover for Jamon Brown in those 2 starts. And that's kind of unfortunate. I was happy to hear this news because I like Austin Blythe, and if you guys listen to Ram Showcase regularly, you know I like Austin Blythe. I'm a big fan. But I was actually going to put in this episode that my pick for Jamon Brown's replacement for these first 2 weeks was going to be Austin Blythe. And then Sean McVay came out and said that Austin Blythe is probably going to be that guy, and so it worked out. So I just like that reassurance, I guess, from myself that I have the eyes that can see it, and I picked the right guy. But Austin Blythe doing a great job this preseason. I was very careful, like in what I was watching while watching this game was basically the offensive line, seeing if anybody stood out. A lot of guys stood out in the wrong reasons, but a lot of them rookies, so I'm not necessarily going to put them on the stock down list or anything like that. But Austin Blythe definitely performing this preseason. Juan Price also playing pretty well, and he had his one tackle, but it was the way he was playing. He was, doing a good job getting to the quarterback and forcing that pressure, which was very nice to see. So Price doing a good job, and there's kind of been talks about Price not making this roster, and I just don't think that's the case. I think he's going to make this roster, and he was, a draft pick for the Rams last year. I think it's a little too soon to move on from a guy you drafted who hasn't necessarily played poorly. So I would like to see Price back, and I do have him making the roster. My roster predictions are coming. I will give you guys an update on that before we get to the news or to the second half. Also, on the stock up, cornerback Sam Shields. I don't know about you guys. I'm a big fan of just football in general, and to see Sam Shields get that interception, that just kind of it was just one of those heartwarming sports stories where he comes back, he's been nervous. He said he was nervous coming into the preseason, hadn't really taken a lot of live action, and he was able to get this pick, and that was really nice to see. So his confidence just boosted up. And if Sam Shields is our fourth best corner on our roster, I think we're doing pretty good. Sam Shields playing really well, especially in this last preseason game. Some guys who didn't help or hurt their stock, quarterback Sean Mannion. And I'm beginning to think that I might be a little harsh on Mannion, and that's not due to anybody commenting or anything like that. I'm starting to feel like I'm being a little harsh on Mannion, so I'm going to try to be a little nicer on Mannion, okay, throughout this journey, especially now that we know who's playing at quarterback this week for the Rams. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But Sean Mannion went 11 of 17, 68 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and just didn't really perform all that well. Closer to the end of the first half, he was looking pretty decent, but to early on, I was looking at him and was like, Mannion, come on. But it's all right. He turned it around. Didn't end up too terrible on the day. Another even guy, running back Nick Hawley, had 11 carries for 40 yards. Did have one that he kind of busted out, which really kind of pads those numbers. I hate using that, but it did. It's kind of the truth. But Nick Hawley, he looked like he was just running with a little bit more authority than he had been in the past week, so that's good to see. Linebacker Justin Lawler had 1 tackle, 2 assists on the day, and the reason I put him even and not up, I know a lot of fans are kind of high on Justin Lawler right now, which is cool because he's a solid player. He's progressing, which is nice. I really didn't like him against the run, though. I was watching him against the run. He was just really hesitant to attack, and when the running back has the ball, you just go tackle him. You don't gotta close out that little edge. And I know you have to close out the edge, but what I'm thinking here is he had a straight line to the running back and just didn't attack him. And I saw that on multiple occasions. So Justin Lawler stayed even for me there. Pass rush, though, he's doing a great job rushing the passer. Stock down list, tight end Tamarick Hemingway. Okay, I'm over the Tamarick Hemingway project. I think it's over. He had 1 catch for -2 yards. He's just not getting it done. Hemingway is not a very good tight end. He's not catching the football. He's not making anything happen after the catch. I see no reason to keep Hemingway on this roster. And next up, I'll package these two in together, both cornerbacks, Taurine Nixon and Troy Hill. Not looking strong, but at the same time, it's okay, because Taurine Nixon, Troy Hill, bottom of the roster guys. As far as depth goes, you're looking at 5 and 6 on the depth chart for these two guys right now, so not a huge concern, especially with the depth that the Rams do currently have at cornerback. but they're just not playing well. There was that one touchdown catch where they were both right there in position to probably at least knock the ball down if they just would have turned their heads, turned into a touchdown. Little things like that I'm just not absolutely thrilled about as far as watching Nixon and Hill play. Let's get to the Saints and the Rams. Rams are visiting the Saints. As I'm recording this, actually, the Rams are on the plane. They're just boarding the plane heading down to New Orleans for this game. But here's my list of who to watch. Finally, we get to put this name on the list. Quarterback Luis Perez. I know a lot of fans have been really excited to watch Perez play, and now we get to for an entire half. He gets the second half. Brandon Allen will play the first half. This does tell me that Sean Mannion is going to be the Rams' backup quarterback, although Sean McVay's comments kind of alluded to this is an ongoing evaluation process. So right now, I think Luis Perez is really getting into this game because they have him, and why not? And kind of what your quarterback room looks like now after 3 preseason games have already been played. So we get to see Luis Perez play. I am on the train that he's probably going to be cut, considering they didn't even really try to evaluate him in those first 3 preseason games. But it'll be cool to see Luis Perez and see if he's worthy of coming back to practice squad. And if he plays well, you know what? I hope he goes to another team and gets to be maybe a backup somewhere. Maybe the Jets just traded Teddy Bridgewater to the Saints. Maybe they need a backup quarterback. Maybe Perez, if he performs well, maybe he'll get that kind of shot. So I think Luis Perez right now, this is going to be a resume game for him. I do believe if he clears waivers, the Rams would at least consider putting him on the practice squad. It's hard to tell what the Rams' mindset is with all these guys, but I would see Luis Perez. I would like to have him around, but I got to see him first. So now we get to, which is kind of nice. Next up, who to watch? Running backs, all of them. Obviously, we know Todd Gurley's not playing. John Kelly is outperforming everybody else on this roster. That includes Malcolm Brown, Nick Hawley, and Justin Davis. He's outperforming them all. He should be the running back too, and I don't care what anybody says. I've been saying this since before preseason even started, that he's got the talent to be the second running back for the Rams, and now I think he's just putting it on tape, and I think that's going to happen. So I don't know if we're going to see a surprise cut, but you guys will hear about my cuts, and I'll kind of evaluate that during the Saints game and kind of see who I think that final running back off the roster will be. But this is going to be a big position to watch. Is Malcolm Brown going to come out and just beast it out? Is Justin Davis going to prove that he deserves to still be on this roster? That's what we're going to find out. And linebackers, I put all again, just because there's so many young guys. You got Tegray Scales, you got Micah Kiser, Justin Lawler, John David Franklin, who's kind of a floater as far as defensive line and linebacker goes. But these linebackers are all trying to get better, and I think they are. I really do. I think that they're doing a good job of progressing. But really what I want to see here is who's going to be the depth guys. Bryce Hager, Micah Kiser, it's looking like they're going to be the backup inside linebackers this year, which is kind of nice. I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with that. But we do have kind of some battles going on the outside, so I think we're going to get not necessarily surprise cuts, because I hate the term surprise cuts because anybody can be cut just about at any time. You've got your safe players. Brandon Cooks is not going to get cut. Ndamukong Suh is not going to get cut. Todd Gurley. That list is thicker than most teams on the Rams, but you have those list of guys that aren't going to get cut. We have guys, though, that are on this roster who could easily be cut. And I'm not saying that a guy like Josh Reynolds is going to be cut, but at the same time, I don't think that's necessarily a surprise, especially, depending on other things. Of course, Josh Reynolds isn't going to get cut. I'm just going to put that out there now. I don't think Josh Reynolds is getting cut. Let's see here. Next up, Torrey Nixon versus Troy Hill versus Dominique Hatfield. I do believe only one of these gentlemen will make the roster. I do believe that. I do believe that the Rams will go into the season with 5 cornerbacks on their roster. That will be Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, Nickel Roby-Coleman, Sam Shields, and one other. If I had to pick right now, if I was the GM, if I put on my GM hat here and had to pick who's going to, of these 3, who's going to make the roster, it would be Hatfield for sure. He's the only one that hasn't been completely exposed at some point this preseason. Nixon and Hill both have. But I do think it can come down to this game. So Nixon, Hill, Hatfield, all, I believe, are battling for one spot, and we'll see what they can do with it. Also, who to watch? Austin Blythe. And this, I'm mainly doing this one as a courtesy. This is, you don't have to necessarily analyze Blythe, but I want you guys to watch Blythe when he's on the field and just see how dominant he is. He does a very good job, especially in the run game, of turning his defender, getting that hole open, and then also moving to the second level. So that's just a courtesy one. Just keep an eye on Austin Blythe because the dude's awesome. All right, and what to watch? The difference in quarterback play with Allen starting the game. So Brandon Allen, I do believe, is in a better spot than Luis Perez to make this roster. I don't think that that's outlandish to say. I'm not sure if the Rams are going to carry 3 quarterbacks into the regular season. I doubt it, especially considering Jared Goff's injury history or lack thereof. But I think Brandon Allen is kind of auditioning for not only the Rams but also the other 31 teams in the league, much like Luis Perez. So I'm interested to see here how Allen does right out of the gates, just starting the game. And then, of course, we got Luis Perez, so that's going to be good too. Outside linebackers against the run and inside linebackers against the pass. This has kind of been an issue from what I am seeing during the first 3 preseason games. The outside linebackers aren't really attacking that well against the run, and that includes Ebukam and Lawler, and inside linebackers are just not that great against the pass right now. And Micah Kiser is included in that, but he is getting better. He is improving every week, which I love to see. I love to see improvement. All right, that was my biggest knock on Mannion for all these years, is he's the same quarterback he was at Oregon State. He hasn't gotten any better. He's the same exact guy. I liked him at Oregon State, and I didn't hate the draft pick. I'm just saying, he hasn't gotten much better. But Micah Kiser is getting better. Well, I would like to see Lawler play better against the run. I would like to see how Tegray Scales does against the run, because he's kind of been, there less plays than Lawler, but there are those times where you see him just not attacking. So I would like to see that improve as well. And then who will stand out at wide receiver and make the roster? Will anybody past Mike Thomas make the roster? So the wide receiver room is much like the cornerback room for the Rams, where you have 4 guys who you're pretty much guaranteed to make this roster. You got Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Josh Reynolds. Those guys, you're looking at locks to make this roster almost. After that, I do think that the Rams at least go 5 wide receivers, especially in a Sean McVay offense. So you got to look at Mike Thomas. He knows the system, he knows this team, and for some reason I just feel like the Rams really like Mike Thomas, which is cool. That's cool. Mike Thomas is fine, but my biggest issue with that is I just don't think he's very good. I don't think his hands are that great. I don't think he's very good after the catch. So we'll see. But I do think he makes the roster. But will anybody after that make the roster? That puts the Rams at 5 wide receivers. So will anybody past Mike Thomas make it? Will a JoJo Natson make it? Will Steven Mitchell make it? We don't know. But I'm thinking that this is going to be a big game for guys like that. If they want to make this roster, they're going to have to absolutely light it up. None of this 2 catches for 17 yards stuff, because that's not catching anybody's attention. Sure, those catches might be fun to watch. Maybe it was a good play, maybe a broken tackle here or there. But a lot of players can break some tackles. You got to really stand out, and every time the ball is thrown to you, you have to perform. Simple as that. So I don't expect too many of these guys to really make the roster. Obviously not going to make the roster. You can't just carry all these guys, but I'm interested to see who really tries to stand out above the pack. Could JoJo Natson really just strike a nerve with a guy like Coach Bones and make the team mainly as a special teams guy? We'll see. It's hard to make the team as a returner because the Rams have a Pro Bowl returner, so that's kind of hard there. Some news and notes. Let's see here. Well, first, my note here. Okay, we'll just go with the news. We got to start here, obviously. Aaron Donald. Everybody has been hearing about Aaron Donald for so long. We've heard all these rumors, different places making up stories, and just trying to bring in the traffic, just using that Aaron Donald name to do so. And hey, it works. It's cool. I got no hatred. I just don't pull that with my listeners, and I hope you guys appreciate that as much as I do. But Aaron Donald contract extension is expected soon. Rumors are saying Tuesday is going to be the day that the Rams announce this, and a big part of that is Aaron Rodgers getting his big deal. And so the Rams didn't really want to have that PR competition with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. And also we got these final preseason games coming up and then cut day on Saturday. So there's going to be a lot of news going on. Every team plays their final preseason game on Thursday. Every team's roster has to be down to 53 men by Saturday. So looking at all those pieces, it makes sense that the Rams are going to wait till Tuesday because they want maximum PR for this. They want on the day that Aaron Donald signed to be the only news that is being talked about in the NFL, or at least the biggest news by far, is that Aaron Donald getting his extension. So rumors say Tuesday. We will absolutely keep you up to date, and maybe 1 week from today I'll be talking about Aaron Donald getting his extension and what it's worth and all that stuff. So that could be very fun. But if you guys did watch Sean McVay's press conference, and when he was asked about Aaron Donald, Sean McVay is a guy who tends to keep his emotions in check. That was not the case when addressing Aaron Donald. He was just super excited. The word of the day on this this press conference was giddy, and he was just really excited. You could tell blatantly he was really excited and that it's getting close. Absolutely. He couldn't hide it. And after I think he knew that he didn't hide it, then he didn't even try. And he looked dead into the camera and said, "Aaron, see you soon, buddy." And it was great. It was perfect. It was awesome. And then he did get serious and say, there are still things that we need to get done, but we are moving in the right direction. So very cool stuff there. Aaron Donald news expected soon. Real Aaron Donald news. Next up, linebacker Obo Okoronkwo could remain on the physically unable to perform list into the season, which would mean he would not be available for the first 6 weeks of the regular season. So what does that mean for the linebacker group? That is a solid question. Okoronkwo looked to be more of a rotational guy, at least for this season. So I don't think this 6 weeks is necessarily a total game changer, but with Matt Longacre coming off of his injury and really only playing a few snaps, very few snaps in the Texans game, we'll see kind of how he's progressing, and I do expect him to start week 1, but I think Okoronkwo missing the first 6 weeks of the season is not necessarily a bad thing. His healing of his foot just isn't going as fast as they had originally thought it would, so we'll kind of see from there. But next up, Joseph Noteboom. You guys know the name, first pick of the Rams draft class this season, leads all rookies in this draft class. He has got 0 quarterback pressures allowed. So very cool stuff there. Of course he's not going against, J.J. Watt or anything, but he's doing a good job. All right, that is the key here. He is doing a very good job. No pressures allowed. He's not the one that's getting, Brandon Allen sacked and fumbling. It's not Noteboom. So this is good stuff. So Noteboom, of course, he doesn't really have to play this season, which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice that the Rams have a brand new tackle that they don't need to force into the game right away. And I'm looking at you, Alex Barron, Jason Smith, and Greg Robinson. I'm looking dead at you. This is not a joke, guys. Let's see here. Next up, the Rams have also signed running back Larry Rose. Rose has spent time with the Rams this offseason, was waived in mid-June. I do firmly believe that this is a move to have another body in the Saints game. And he knows pretty much the scheme. He knows the guys. So I think this is a move to get this roster through this final preseason game. In news for week 1, the Raiders and Khalil Mack not doing it. They're not getting it done. They are not as optimistic as Rams fans regarding Aaron Donald, that's for sure. Khalil Mack likely to miss week 1 against the Rams. That is the final game of week 1, and I can't wait for the preview next week, guys. It's gonna be really nice. So that's gonna be fun stuff. Tight end Gerald Everett and linebacker Mark Barron are both on track to play week 1 against the Raiders. So opposite news as far as linebackers go. And tight end Gerald Everett has missed this entire preseason, but is on track. So what does that mean? What does on track mean? That means as of right now, it's looking like they're going to be able to play that game. But of course, there could be precautionary stuff. We may not see a lot of Gerald Everett, especially considering the Rams do have Tyler Higbee at the tight end position. Mark Barron, though, I think a big part of Corey Littleton getting the green dot against the Texans was because of Mark Barron and the fact that he's just on track to play week 1. They aren't guaranteeing anything, so we'll kind of keep an eye on Mark Barron as next week progresses. Let's take a look at the rest of the West. The Seahawks have signed wide receiver Tyler Lockett to a 3-year, $38 million extension to hold on to one of their wideouts there. The 49ers, the right guard position battle that has been going on throughout this preseason looks to be going to Mike Person. So Aaron Donald, Mike Person, that's who you're going to want to attack. All right, guy? The Cardinals taking calls on quarterback Mike Glennon. Of course, they do have quarterback Sam Bradford, who formerly was with the Rams, as well as rookie quarterback out of UCLA, Josh Rosen. So not a whole lot of need for Mike Glennon, but there are teams that could still use a backup. Rams, just throwing that out there. Jets also, I'll throw them in there. And I'll even throw, I'll throw the Broncos in too, just because I don't know about Chase Daniel. Let's see here. Next up, Cardinals appear on the favorites to sign Dez Bryant via MyBookie, and they do sit at 6-1. The Seahawks are also on this list. The Seahawks sit at 5-1. The Browns at 3-1. Patriots 4-1. Jags 4-1 as well. But also, this one I found interesting, and this is my favorite odd in this, is 3-1 that he just doesn't even play in 2018. And I don't know about you guys, but I was pretty convinced he was going to play for the Browns. I was really convinced of it. Somebody took him in my fantasy draft in the 14th round, and it's like, okay, that's good value right there for sure. Depending on where he lands, I'm sure it'll be good value. So, all right, that is going to do it for the first half. I'm going to make sure that I say this now so that no one is completely shocked by this next week. But I am writing out a full list of rules involving my trivia questions, my weekly trivia questions that will be asked. So there will be a whole list of rules. This is the first time we've had rules, so everybody just be cool. And it's just kind of like, I just got to do it. I just got to do it because, first of all, Adrian, you guys can all blame Adrian. I think of 16 weeks left, 17. I went back and forth there a little bit because, of course, there was the playoff game. Of 17 games last year that the Rams played in, I think Adrian won like 10 times. So you guys can all blame Adrian for these new rules. But I did have to instate them, so I will go over those with you guys next week. But for now, that does it for the first half. And on the other side, we've got Fan Quesos, so don't go anywhere. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you guys like what you have heard, make sure you guys like and follow all the Rams Showcase social media outlets. That's at Rams Showcase on Instagram and Twitter, facebook.com/Rams Showcase. If you guys would like to hear the rest of the episode, I will drop a link in the description so you can hear Fan Quesos. If you guys do have Fan Quesos, you can tweet me, message me, whatever it happens to be. Any way you can get those messages in front of me, I will see them and I will answer them on the following show. Thanks for checking it out, guys.